Chapter 1. The Silence. Ace woke with a pounding headache. Memories of last night surfaced. 2 arrests and 1 appearance in court. He looked around. He'd fallen asleep on his couch again. His television was still on, the news playing on the screen. Not that Ace cared. It was probably going on about some political shit that made no sense to anybody anyways. He stretched on his couch. He was still wearing his uniform, which consisted of a plain white shirt and a plain black tie. Plain. That word would sum up his life over the past few weeks. It had always been Ace's dream to be a cop. The thought of being considered a hero was always on the back of his mind. He worked hard in school and kept himself in top physical shape. He passed and became a cop. At first, it was everything he'd hoped it would be. After a while, it slowed down. It became a boring and tedious job. He'd seen and had gotten used to all of the horror. Dead bodies and blood were normal for him now. He'd heard all the excuses, such as, "I'm innocent," to last him a lifetime. The pony once again stretched his dark blue hide across his couch. His black mane and hair was overgrown again. "I'll get a cut later," he promised himself for the millionth time. Ace wouldn't consider himself anything unique. While he was a good-looking pony, there was better looking. His horn, that was the same dark blue as his body. He didn't even have any special abilities. He could use his horn and fire his pistol, but that's about it. While he was sitting there, thinking over his average life and underwhelming looks, the world around him started to distort. The news screen suddenly went white before cutting to static. Ace rose from his couch. A silent, "What the fuck?" left his lips. Ace went to his window and pushed the curtains aside. What he saw made him gag. Dead bodies, blood, and guts littered the road. Countless heads, far as the eye can see. He saw movement to his left. A blue mare was running and screaming for her life from a large crowd of ponies that were covered in fresh blood. Not all of it theirs. The mare had a large chunk of skin ripped from her neck. Blood was pouring out of giant lacerations. If she didn't get help, she would die. Ace didn't think about the bodies too much. He used his horn to grab his pistol and ran to his front door. He unlocked it and poked his head out. The smell of rotten and decaying flesh made his vision become muddled. He swallowed hard and focused on his goal, helping that mare. "Hey!" he called to the mare. "Come this way, I can help you." The mare wasted no time in running to his house, and when she was safely inside, he closed and locked his door. Within seconds of him locking it, the mare's pursuers began to slam on the door. "This way," Ace said to the mare and led her upstairs to his bathroom. When they were inside the bathroom, the mare collapsed to the floor, and Ace looked at the floor. "What the hell happened?" Ace said, coming off more intimidating than he meant to.
"Manhattan has fallen. Ponies eating other ponies. They can't be killed."
Her voice was faint, and she sounds out of breath. Ace realized that she was going to die, and was beyond saving. Ace didn't have time to formulate a response before the blue mare flopped to his bathroom floor, dead. Her eyes were glazed over, and the blood that was once pouring out of the wound in her neck had slowed down. Ace turned away in sadness. He knew that she couldn't be saved. It wasn't his fault. But he still felt responsible. He still felt like shit. And then he heard a strange moaning sound come from behind him. He turned around and saw the once dead mare stand up again. But even though she was still standing, she still looked dead. Her eyes were still glazed over. Her chest wasn't moving.
How?
Ace couldn't believe it. She just died. But before Ace could even think, the mare jumped at him. He barely managed to dodge out of her way. He heard the sound of her jaws snapping shut. She had tried and failed to bite him. And before he could even initiate the first attack, she had pinned him down on the floor. He just managed to put one of his front hooves on her neck to keep her snapping jaws away from his face.
What the fuck are you doing? Get off me!
Ace screamed. She didn't listen. Things were about to get worse for Ace. His hoof went into the hole in the mare's neck. She was now a millimeter away from his face. Ace turned his face to the left to increase the distance from her jaws. He could feel everything that was inside her neck on his hoof. The still warm blood, the ligaments, the bones, the nerves, the veins. Then Ace spotted his pistol. It lay within his magical reach. He took a deep breath and focused his magic on lifting and aiming the gun at the mare's head.
"I'm sorry,"
he whispered, before commanding his magic to pull the trigger. The mare's blood and brain matter covered the walls and floor of Ace's bathroom and Ace himself. He pushed the corpse of the mare off of him and stood up. He was shaking, but alive. The same could not be said for the blue mare.
"I have to get this to the station and find out what's going on here."
Everybody was dead. Ace took a deep breath to steady his nerves and ran from his doorway to a dark corner to hide in. The shadows completely concealed him from any prying eyes that might be trying to seek him out.
"I won't become somebody's fucking dinner today,"
Ace promised himself. With that, he took off on the quickest route to the police station. He could usually run it in about 5 minutes. But today, he wasn't running. He went as slowly and quietly as he could. Ace watched the dead silent streets, each one covered in half-eaten corpses, internal organs, and blood. Ace nearly burst into tears when he saw 2 young children that were completely covered in their own blood. How could this happen? Ace kept questioning himself. When Ace rounded the last corner to the police station, his heart sank. What must have been several hundred of those cannibalistic ponies dragged themselves around the outside of the building. Ace had already seen that they were fast and strong, and that nothing would stop them trying to get his flesh except death. Ace removed his revolver from its holster and counted his bullets. 5 was all he had left.
Shit. Come on, Ace, think. There's something I can do. There has to be.
An idea sprang to mind to save himself. He felt his shirt and nearly jumped up and down in glee. Every single police car used the same key. The government said it was easier that way. Ace still had his on him. One of the cars was just a few yards from him, and none of the crazy ponies were near it or him. Ace ducked down and moved to the driver's side of the car. He pressed the unlock button on his key and heard the sound of the door locks open. He opened the car door and got in the driver's seat. He immediately closed the door and locked the car. What Ace didn't know was that when the car was locked, a movement sensor was activated in the car that was connected to the alarm. So when he moved to put the key in the ignition, the car alarm began to scream. Ace panicked and started the car, before slamming his hoof on the accelerator. The car shot forward, slamming Ace against the back of his seat. Ace just managed to grab his steering wheel and make a hard left before slamming into a brick wall. Ace kept muttering, "Fuck," under his breath, trying to calm himself. He turned onto the highway, which was incredibly bare. No cars. Nothing. Ace drove for a few miles without incident, but as he rounded a corner, he was met by a large herd of the crazy pony-eating ponies. Ace's adrenaline took over, and he pulled a hard right, which sent him off the road, into a woodland area, and head first into a tree, knocking out Ace in the process. But it could have been worse. He could have been killed, in theory.